Hello, Preet, can you hear me? Okay, so let's get started. Today will be our first class for A2 Economics, and this is for February, March 2022, right? So as you would know that there is a lot of syllabus for A2, and we will be going fast, right? But don't worry, we have enough time to cover the syllabus and to do a couple of past papers practice, right? But the speed will be fast, and you have to stay with me. If at any point you feel like you're not understanding any concept or there is any confusion, any difficulty, then feel free to ask me there and then so that I can help you understand that topic better, right? So if this is clear and you can hear me clearly, then we will get started. So kindly let me know if you can hear me, if you can see the whiteboard and everything is good. So do let me know. Right. Okay, perfect. Let's get started, right? So the first topic in A2 economics that will start off today is economic efficiency. Now, this is a very important topic from exam point of view, and every year you will see at least usually there is one essay question that relates to this topic, economic efficiency, right? So it's relatively extensive topic. It's a lengthy topic, right, which has a lot of different subtopics, and we will talk about this. Right? So economic efficiency. Okay. Now, what is efficiency? The word efficiency is obviously very commonly used in English language, and we often use it in our daily lives that this is not efficient, this is not this is inefficient or things like that, right? Now, what we need to understand that efficiency, as we use in our normal language, means effective, right? Or making the best use of something, right? So efficiency in our daily life means making the best possible use of something, right? So I will give you a couple of examples before we move forward from here. Making best possible use of something. Making best possible use of something, right? Now, when we use the word efficiency, we often mean resources, right? Best possible use of something. So let me give you an example. So when you say that I want to study for my exam and you suggest a strategy, exam strategy, studying strategy to your friend, and your friend says that this is not efficient. What he basically means, no, breathe. Okay, now let me tell you, a better idea would be to just focus in the class, right? And all the lectures will be available the following day on our YouTube channel, right? So if there is anything that you anything that you'd want to revise, then in the following on the following day you can go to our YouTube channel and you'll see all the lectures uploaded by the same topic, so you don't need to worry about it. But in the classes, if you are comfortable writing it down, you may, but otherwise it would be better if you just focus and just try to understand the concept there and then. But do keep a notebook along, or do keep a notebook and a pen along, so that the important topics you can write it down, or if I give you a question or something, you can do it on your own. Especially the graphs. The graphs are really important, and in A2 economics, let me tell you, there will be a lot of graphs, and it's important to understand all of these graphs. So for those, it's better that you have a rough notepad or anything where you can draw the diagrams on your own, and that way you'll be better able to remember those. Does this help? Okay. Now, what is efficiency? As I just mentioned, efficiency is making best possible use of something, right? So if, let's say, you ask me that just one day before the exam, that should I revise the entire syllabus, or should I revise the notes, or what should I do, right? So then I can say that this is an efficient strategy, right? So what I mean is that you will be making the best possible use of your time, right? So that is what efficiency means, making best possible use of something. But when we talk about efficiency in economics, obviously we are concerned about resources, right? Now, if you remember, in the very first topic of A-levels economics, we talked about basic economic problem. Now, what is basic economic problem? Basic economic problem is that you have limited resources and unlimited wants, right? And this is not something that is only prevalent in one country, in India, Pakistan. It's prevalent in every country of the world. Basic economic problem is faced by every country in the world, which means that resources will always be limited and your wants will always be unlimited. So there can never be a point when your resources can satisfy all the needs and wants. So what does that mean? Think about this. If I am an individual, right, and I have limited income. So think about this. Let's try to think about this as an individual first, and then we'll try to replicate this for the entire country. Qasim is an individual. He's one man, and he has limited income. Everyone, like everyone else in the world, Qasim has limited income. Now he can't buy everything that he wants. He wants to buy product A, he wants to buy product B, he wants to buy product C, D, and there is endless list, right? Endless list. Now he can't buy everything. So what he needs to do is to make better use of his income. Do you agree with me, Preet? So you have to stay with me at any point. If there's any confusion, you have to ask me there and then. Better use of income. So even with better use of income, he will not be able to buy everything, but at least he will be making better use of his money. Is this making sense, right? So when I say you should use efficient, smartly, when we say that you should smartly use your money or you should efficiently use your income or things like that, what we are referring to basically is that we should make better use of income, right? Spend on things that we need the most and so on. Spend on things we need the most. Is this making sense? Right?
Yes.
Okay, okay, perfect. Right? So if you can just, yeah, perfect. Right. Okay. Now moving on, have a look at this. Now moving on, right? Let's try to come up with a definition for economic efficiency. So we already know efficiency means making best possible use of something, right? And when we talk about economic efficiency, obviously in economics, the most important thing that we're concerned about is resources, right? Resources are limited, and therefore economic efficiency means making best possible use of resources, right? So economic efficiency would mean making best possible use of resources, because resources are limited and scarce. So we don't want to waste or make inefficient use of these resources, right? Now think about this. So economic efficiency would very simply means making best possible use of scarce resources. Making best possible use of scarce resources. Now the word best in itself is vague. I mean, that's not very clear, like what the word best means. Making best possible use of resources, right? So to define what we mean by the word best, we have to look in more detail, right? So that is one way of explaining economic efficiency. Another way of explaining economic efficiency is, right? I mean, that's not actually a definition that I'm about to write, but you'll understand. So this statement is very important, and I want you to understand this, that economic efficiency is the best possible solution of basic economic problem. Economic efficiency is the best possible solution. Technically, it's not a solution, but still, I will tell you that why am I saying that it is a solution. Economic efficiency is the best possible solution for basic economic problem. Now think about this. Let's discuss this statement first and then move forward from here. Best possible solution for basic economic problem. Okay, now Preet, think about this. So basic economic problem. Okay, the idea is that we just discussed that basic economic problem is present in every country in the world and for every individual, right? And you can't really solve it. So you can't have enough resources to satisfy all the needs and wants that you have, right? So there will never be a point in time in any individual's life or in any country's life when it would be able to satisfy all of its needs and wants. But what the country can at least do is to make better use of its resources. Are you getting me? Right? So when you are using your resources efficiently, when you're not wasting your resources, so that is what makes us say that economic efficiency is best possible solution of economic problem, right? So the best way you can deal with basic economic problem is to make the most efficient use of your resources. This is making sense. To ensure maximum possible, think about this. So what is the objective of any country? The objective of any country is to maximize its output. To ensure maximum possible output, a country needs to, so these are different terms, but they're referring to the same fact that making efficient use of resources is very important for any country. To ensure maximum possible output, a country needs to use its resources efficiently. Do you agree with me or not? Do you agree with me? Resources in an efficient manner. Okay. Now, these are some different statements and different perspectives, but they are all referring to the same fact that a country needs to make best possible use of its resources so that it can maximize its output, right? Okay, perfect. That's great. That's great. Now, think about this. As I said, that the word best is unclear, right? It's unclear, it's vague. We don't know exactly what the best means. So that is why economic efficiency is divided in two components. So economic efficiency, how do we know if a country is economically efficient or not? So we will get to find out if a country is economically efficient or not by looking at these two components of economic efficiency. So if these two components of economic efficiency are present, we know that the country is economically efficient, otherwise it's not, right? So the two components of economic efficiency are productive efficiency that we are about to discuss right now, and then the other component that we'll discuss after this is allocative efficiency. So productive and allocative efficiency make up economic efficiency. Okay, now this being said, we will discuss both of these two terms in detail now. Okay, productive efficiency. So productive efficiency is very simple and easy to understand. Have a look at this. So if you take business, which I think you do, right? So you must have heard the word productivity. So this resource is productive. This resource is not very productive, right? Blah, 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 right? So productive means basically how much output is someone producing? How much output is someone producing, right? Now, let me give you an example. So productive efficiency, the easiest way to calculate productive efficiency is to find the output over input. How many units of output are being produced against each unit of input? That is your productive efficiency. Now, let me give you a very simple example. So let's say there are two businesses, right? Two factories, right? So let's say it like this. So there's factory A, there's factory B, right? Now, factory A is producing, let's say, 10,000 units of a product. Let's say these companies produce footballs, right? So factory A produced 10,000 footballs and factory B produced 20,000 footballs, right? So this is your output. What is this? If football is the final product that a company or a business is producing, so that will be your output. Now, what is an input? Input are the resources that you use to produce that output, right? So that could be in the form of labor, capital, land, anything, right? Now, let's say we are looking at input of labor. How many people did these companies use to produce this output? So let's say company A used 500 people to produce 10,000 footballs, and company B used 800 people to produce this output. Now, if you look at this formula, can you tell me which of the two companies is more efficient? Which of the two companies is more efficient? And before that, can you tell me that which of the two companies is bigger? So which of the two companies is bigger and why? Right? Let me see if you're getting this correct. So B is more efficient. Excellent, right? So B is a bigger company and which is more efficient? Sorry, tell me again. First, answer this question. Out of these two factories, which is a bigger factory, right? Which is a bigger business? B is a bigger business. How do we know that? We just need to look at the output. Which of the two companies is producing more output? That is the bigger company. As simple as that, right? Nothing complicated. Great. That's correct. Moving forward, which of the two businesses is more efficient and why? Which of the two businesses is more efficient? And the hint is that you have formula provided over here. So you just need to apply this formula and then calculate which of the two businesses is more efficient. So what would you do? Are you saying B is more efficient? Right? Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. Let's make these values a little more interesting. Okay, now what about now? Yeah, sorry, I thought. Okay, now which of the two businesses is more efficient? Is it A or is it B? It's now efficient. Which of the two is more efficient? Read, think about this. So what you have to do is 10,000 divided by 500, right? So this gives you 100 footballs. No, not 100. This gives you 20 footballs per worker. And then when you divide 20,000 over 1100, right? So these two get cancelled, and then 200 divided by 11 would give you something smaller than 20 footballs per labor, right? So now we know that company A or business A is more efficient given these values because it can produce more output against each unit of input. Are you getting that, right? So this is exactly what productive efficiency is. Productive efficiency is how much output can a company produce against each unit of input, right? So let's write down the definition and then move forward and look at the graph. Okay, so the simplest definition of productive efficiency is, so productive efficiency calculates quantity of output that a business can produce against each unit of input. Output a business can produce against each unit of input. Is this simple? Is it making sense? Right? Okay. Now, when will productive efficiency be highest? When will productive efficiency be highest? So productive efficiency be highest when you are maximizing your output from each unit of input. Now, think about this. It's again saying the same thing that I've written over here, but the wording is a little different. So let's look at this first. So the definition of productive efficiency that we've written so far is productive efficiency calculates quantity. Productive efficiency calculates quantity of output a business can produce against each unit of input. So what it basically means that productive efficiency will be maximized, or productive efficiency will be achieved when you are maximizing your output from each unit of input. Productive efficiency is achieved when a business is maximizing its output from each unit of input. Is this making sense? When a business is maximizing its output with each unit of input. Is this clear? Is this simple? Right? Right? Brief? Okay, great, perfect. Now we know, so let's do a quick recap and then move forward from here, right? So we are talking about economic efficiency, right? So we started our discussion by saying that economic efficiency is important. Why is economic efficiency important? Economic efficiency is important because every country is faced with the problem of basic economic problem, which means you have limited resources and unlimited ones. So if you want to maximize your output as a country, then you have to make the best possible use of those resources. How would you do that? You would do that by achieving efficiency in the use of your resources, right? So economic efficiency in simple words is Important because there is basic economic problem, resources are limited. Hence, what it basically means, to ensure maximum possible output, a country needs to use its resources in an efficient manner, right? After this, we said, how would we know if a country is achieving economic efficiency or not? We would know by looking at the two components. So if any country has both of these two components, then it is said to be economically efficient. So if the country has productive efficiency and if the country has allocative efficiency, right? By the way, we can look at efficiency from country point of view, and we can also look at efficiency from firm point of view, right? So we will look at both things in a bit, right? But first of all, we need to know the definitions of both productive and allocative efficiency, right? So these two components, productive and allocative efficiency, together make up economic efficiency. So both of these two components need to be present for a country to be defined as economically efficient. Okay. Now, what is productive efficiency? Productive efficiency is output over input, which basically means productive efficiency calculates quantity of output a business or an economy can produce against each unit of input. Another way to put this is productive efficiency is achieved when a business is maximizing its output. So when the value of this formula is maximized, that is when a business or a country is productively efficient. So when you are maximizing your output against each unit of input, that is productive efficiency. As simple as that. Okay. Now, the next thing that we're about to look at is how do we show productive efficiency on a graph, right? Okay. Have a look at this. Okay. Now the thing is, how do we show productive efficiency on a graph? Now this is very important. Think about this. Do you remember we talked about excuse me. Do you remember we talked about average total cost? Right? You might have, we will talk more about this in A2 syllabus, right? But if you don't know, I can explain, right? So average total cost is, simply speaking, the cost it takes to produce a typical unit of the good. Average means when you take the average of something, the cost spent on producing a typical meaning an average, right? The cost spent on producing a typical unit of the good. Producing a typical unit of good, right? Okay. Now, the way we calculate average total cost, unit of good. The way we calculate average total cost is by dividing the total cost by the number of units produced. Absolutely perfect, right? So ATC is the short form of average total cost. ATC, average total cost, is calculated by dividing the total cost of producing a certain amount of goods by the total quantity produced, total output, right? Or output, you can simply say total output would be a better word, right? So how much was the total cost that a business spent? So we were just, we were just talking about that there were two factories and that are producing footballs, right? So if the total cost of producing footballs is $100,000, right? So if the total cost of producing 10,000 footballs was $100,000, so what we'll do, we'll divide the cost with the total output produced, and as you can see, that will give you $10 per football. So this means that each football on average costed the business $10, right? It's very simple and easy to understand. Okay, now what has average total cost to do with productive efficiency, right? So we are answering this question, that how do we show productive efficiency on a graph, and where did this average total cost come up from? Okay, now think about this. Now this is very important. Pay attention. So cost is basically, how much you are spending. So that is your resource. So what is your cost? That is your resource or the input, right? The more the inputs that you use, the more the resources that you use, higher will be your cost. Do you agree with me? Agree? So think about this. If you're using more resources to produce something, the cost will be higher, right? Right? And what is your output? As you already know, output is basically the final product that you produce, right? The final product that you produce, final product. Okay, now think about this. If we compare, now this can be a little tricky, but you will understand. So we just looked at the formula for average total cost, which is basically total cost divided by total output. And we talked about total output, and we talked about productive efficiency, which is output over input. Now, if you look at it, you will see that the formula is the two formulas that I will just write on the boards are reciprocal of each other. Do you understand what a reciprocal is? Output over input. So reciprocal basically means when you take the denominator in the numerator and you take the numerator in the denominator. So what I'm trying to say over here is if I take this here and this here, right? So it will become this formula. Do you agree with me or not? Why? Because total cost is basically, if you think about the total cost, cost is the input. The more the inputs you are using, the higher will be your cost. So why is there a relationship between the two? So the relationship is basically when average total cost is lowest, productive efficiency is maximized. Or simply speaking, a business achieves, right, productive efficiency. Preet, is this helpful? Right? Is this making sense or not? Think about this. Let's look at this one more time. So what is great? Perfect. Do let me know if at any point you feel confused or you do not understand. Think about this. So we said productive efficiency is about maximizing the output with each unit of input. Maximizing the output with each unit of input. Now, continuing with the same example, sorry, I erased that. Okay, so continuing with the example of the two factories that we were considering. Think about this. We assume that factory A is producing 10,000 footballs, factory B is producing 20,000 footballs. Now this will become more clear over here, right? And we assume that factory A is using 500 people, 500 units of labor, 500 people you can say, and factory B, let's say, is using 1100 people, right? So this upper row is showing you the output that the two factories are producing, and the lower row is showing you the inputs that these businesses are using. Okay, now think about this. If we assume that each labor is paid the same wage, if we assume that each labor is paid the same wage, which is very realistic assumption. Why? Because think about this, in one country at any one point in time, are you getting me? So in India or in Pakistan at any one point in time, a certain type of labor will be paid the same wage, right? So regardless of whether I'm working in factory A or factory B, if the nature of the task is that I am supposed to make footballs, so my rate, most probably my per hour rate would be the same. The daily wage that the workers in football factory earns would be the same regardless of whether you're working in factory A or factory B, right? Same goes if I give you another example. So if someone is working in textile company in factory A and another person is also working in a textile factory, but that is factory B, like that's a different brand or different company, the wage rate that two workers will be paid will be the same, right? This is how the market wages operate, right? Okay, now think about this. In this case, we did the calculation and each person was making 20 units of football each labor. Do you agree with me? Right? And in this case, what would be the answer? Let's do an exact calculation so that it's easier for us to compare. Okay, so 20,000 divided by 1100 is how much? 18, right? So 18.2, right? So in case of factory B, it's producing 18.2 units of football for each unit of labor. Is everything clear so far? Is everything clear so far? Okay, now think about this. I'm about to explain you that how ATC, how ATC, average total cost, and productive efficiency are inversely related. So lower the ATC, higher the productive efficiency, higher the ATC, lower the productive efficiency. So inversely, do you understand? When one thing increases, the other one decreases, and when the other thing decreases, the first thing increases, right? Inversely related. Okay. Now the thing is, 20 units per labor, and let's assume that the wage rate in this country is fixed. So let's say $5 per worker per day, or let's make it 10 dollars per worker is the wage, right? Per worker per day is the wage that you will receive. So then this means what, right? If one labor is producing 20 footballs, then it means that $10 against $10, this factory A produced how many footballs? 20 footballs, which means that each football costed how much? That means that each football costed you $0.50. Is this making sense? Is this making sense? So this means that factory A produced, because what did I do? I just applied the ATC formula. What was the ATC formula? Right? So ATC formula was how much is each worker getting, what was the cost, and how much was the output that it produced. So against $10, it produced how much? It produced 20 units of football. This means that each football in factory A costed $0.50. Now, can you do this calculation for me for factory B? So how much did each football costed in factory B? How much did each football costed in factory B? Right? Let me quickly do the calculation. So in the case of factory B, 10 divided by 18.2, excellent. And that gives you 0.55, right? So you can see that since factory B was inefficient, that is why its ATC is also higher. Its ATC is also higher. Yes or no? Am I making sense? ATC is higher because each football in factory B is costing you how much? $0.55 per football, whereas in factory A, it's costing you $0.50, right? So which of the two is lower? Obviously 0.50 is lower than 0.55, right? So does this make sense now? So what I was trying to say over here, when ATC is lowest, a business achieves productive efficiency, right? Now let's move on. Do let me know if there's anything that's still not clear and you want to ask me, right? Okay, now we'll look at the graph, and then we will see that how do we look at productive efficiency through a graph. Okay, now for productive efficiency to be shown on a graph, we will make the ATC curve. So average total cost is on the y-axis, and the output of the firm is on the x-axis, right? Now we know that the shape, if you don't know, let me tell you, and then discuss later in the A2 syllabus, that Y is ATC U-shaped. So ATC curves for any business are always U-shaped like this. The ATC curves for any business are always U-shaped. Is it making sense? Okay. Now this is one ATC curve. Now what is this ATC curve showing us? Let's discuss this, right? So if a business is producing, let's say, output Q1, if the business is producing output Q1, right? That could be any level, let's say 500 units. So if this company is making 500 units of output, let's say those could be footballs, those could be bats, anything, right? So then the ATC curve will show you that how much is each unit costing you. So let's say $10 is the average cost for producing 500 units. If this business produces something more than 700, let's say 750 units of footballs, right? Then the average cost, as you can see from the graph yourself, the average cost drops down to something lower than 10, let's say $7, or let's say $8 or anything of the sort. But since it is U-shaped, when the company increases its output even more, right? So the average total cost will start to go up again. Is this making sense? Breathe. So this is what the U-shaped ATC shows. The U-shaped ATC shows that initially your average total cost will decrease. up till this point. Up till this point, what will happen? Your average total cost curve is downward sloping. This means that as you produce more output, your average cost will decrease. But after this point, what happens? If the company produces more output, your average total cost will start to go up again. This is making sense. So this is what U-shaped ADC shows, right? Any confusion so far? Anything that's not clear? Anything you want to ask me? Right? If this is clear, and as I said, we'll talk more about this. So if you have studied economics in your O levels, you would know that the shape U-shaped curve ADC shows economies and diseconomies of scale. So what does it actually show? It shows economies and diseconomies of scale. This is making sense. This is making sense, right? And we'll discuss explicitly later on when we move to the cost section that why are ATC U-shaped? Why are ATC curves U-shaped? Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. Okay, great. Okay. Now, this is where this gets interesting. Now, think about this. At any point in time, a business will have multiple ATCs, right? A business can operate on multiple ATCs. Now, what do I mean by that? Now, you will have to listen to this carefully, right? So let's say there is ATC 1, right? So all of these ATCs will be parallel to each other, right? So then you have ATC 2, the orange color, and then you have, let's say, an ATC 3, which is green color. Okay, now think about this. If a business uses more advanced technology, right? So if a business is using more advanced technology, then we know that the business will be able to reduce its average cost, right? So you do take business studies, you would know that if a business starts operating more efficiently by using more advanced technology like computers and, depending upon the nature of the business, but let's say if you're looking at an agriculture business and that starts using tractors and, other modern machinery, then each unit will cost you less compared to if you do all the work manually, because labor is more expensive generally, right? Compared to technology. Technology is one-off cost. Obviously, buying a machine or buying a tractor initially will be expensive, but in the long run, that will be cheaper. So what I'm trying to say is that at any point in time, a business can operate either on ATC 1, which is pink color, or it can operate on ATC 2, which is orange color, or it can operate on ATC 3, which is green color. Now, out of these three ATCs, which ATC is productively efficient? Out of these three ATCs, which ATC is productively efficient? And you already know what the definition of productive efficiency is. So what do you think? Which ATC is productively efficient? ATC 3, exactly. Now that is the point that we have to explain. Have a look at this. So if I choose any random quantity, think about it. If I choose any random quantity, let's say if a business wants to produce at Q1. So by producing at Q1, and if you're operating on ATC 3, let's say each unit of the good will cost you $9, but if you would have operated on ATC 2, that same thing would have costed you $11 because that is going up on the y-axis. So obviously cost of production increases. And if you would have operated on ATC 1, that would have costed you $13, right? So at any output level, and this is very important, right? That's why I'm stressing on it. So if I take any random quantities, right? You will see that the lowest possible cost of producing that output would always be on ATC 3. The lowest possible cost for any output level, would always be the lowest possible ATC. This is making sense, right? The lowest possible, let me write this down, lowest possible cost for producing any output level will be at ATC 3. This is making sense. Preet, are you clear on this, right? So what it basically means that out of 3 ATC, the lowest possible ATC curve is productively efficient. The lowest possible. So the answer to this question that we were asking ourselves, how do we show productive efficiency on a graph? So the answer to that If a business is operating on the lowest possible ADC curve, then it is productively efficient, otherwise not. If a business is operating on lowest possible ATC curve, then it is productively efficient, right? Okay, now let's quickly recap it. Productive, so I'm not writing the full form, productively efficient, right? So in today's class, we started off with this first topic of economics, which is efficiency. And I said that efficiency means making best possible use of resources. Why do we need to make best possible use of resources? We do need to make best possible use of resources because there's basic economic problem. Resources are always limited and wants are always unlimited, right? Now, that is exactly what economic efficiency says. Economic efficiency says to make best possible use of resources. And economic efficiency has two components, productive efficiency and allocative efficiency. We did not get the chance to talk about allocative efficiency, that we will discuss tomorrow. But for productive efficiency, we said productive efficiency calculates quantity of output a business can produce against each unit of input. This is the formula that helps us